So what's going on YouTube? JeffMan316 here, your pop culture reporter, coming back to you with what's going to be like a little short tribute video. I was saddened to hear this week that we lost the great Charles Grodin, an actor that I grew up enjoying quite a few of his films. I just felt, I just thought about him when I unboxed a King Kong Blu-ray that I recently bought. And so it was really, just felt weird to me that I just thought about him, and then a day or so later he passed away. And plus he passed away on May 18th, and that's my mother's birthday. So I don't know, it just felt kind of weird, and I wanted to, I don't do a lot of these, but I wanted to do a little tribute video just to let you guys know. I did like Charles Grodin, and I know he's a quirky actor. He mostly comedic roles, the straight man a lot of times, but he's got some really memorable roles that I'd like to talk about. At least my favorites is what I'm going to talk about. Not that he's most famous for, just my favorites. Before we get into that, do the normal YouTube stuff, please. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and then once you do that, do me the extra favor and hit the notification bell. When I post anything pop culture related, you'll be the first to know. So let's get on and have our tribute to Charles Grodin, and I'll let you know some of my favorite films of his. Let's go. So welcome back. Like I said, I'm going to keep this short and sweet. Charles Grodin was 86 years old. He was born on April 21st, 1935. He's mainly a character actor to me. He was never the front man on a lot of movies that I liked. He always played the sidekick, the husband, the straight man, the buddy. But he did just such a great job. He was so well-rounded in his acting that I'm going to go through some movies on Internet Movie Database and give you an idea of some of the ones I liked that aren't in my top 5. I'm going to give you my top 5, but he was in movies like, well, he was actually in some TV stuff too. He was on Louie, the TV show. I remember him being on that. He's played in an episode of Law and Order that I remembered. He was in a really movie that I thought was terrible that I know some people did like, with Martin Short, called Clifford. He's done, he was in So I Married an Axe Murderer, Dave, a movie with Jim Belushi called Taking Care of Business, which was pretty close to being on my list, but I found 5 other ones that I liked more. The Couch Trip, Ishtar, Last Resort, The Woman in Red, The Lonely Guy with Steve Martin. He was in the Great Muppet Caper. As you can see, just like a laundry list of different comedic roles, supporting roles. Like I said, never was really the front man, other than he did have a pretty prominent role in a movie that's going to be my honorable mention. It's not one of my favorites, but it's memorable to me because my son, when he was younger, he liked the series. The movie Beethoven. He was the dad in that, and obviously it was the Saint Bernard that caused all kinds of trouble. So there was a series of movies, and I know he was in several of those. That was pretty popular in the 90s. My son, like I said, and I watched that together. So I'm going to go ahead and say Beethoven, some of those movies is honorable mention, but let's get into my list of my top 5 favorite Charles Grodin movies. And like I said, some of these might be really off the beaten path. You might not have heard of them, but go check them out if you have an opportunity. So the first one is a movie called The Incredible Shrinking Woman from 1981. It starred Lily Tomlin, and he played her husband. So if you haven't heard of that, Lily Tomlin basically, because of a mixture of a bunch of different chemicals and products, starts shrinking, and he plays her husband. So once again, he's kind of like the straight man, where she does all the comedy and he supports her. But
as long as you have on this ring, nothing's changed between us.
But it was memorable to me. It was one of the movies that popped into my head. I like that, and for some reason, he kind of reminded me. He's more of an actor, kind of like Dabney Coleman, where he is in memorable roles, pops up a lot in the 80s. You'll remember him, but he wasn't the actual star. So that's my first one. That's number 5. Number 4 is another movie where, like I said, a supporting role, but he played a really good straight man to Goldie Hawn and Chevy Chase in the 1980 comedy Neil Simon Seems Like Old Times. I really think that that's an underrated movie of Chevy Chase. It doesn't have a lot of the pratfall comedy of his. But Charles Grodin plays a soon-to-be attorney general whose wife is Chevy Chase's ex-wife. And Chevy Chase ends up getting wrongfully accused of, I think, a robbery. And he ends up escaping and hiding out. And the only place he knows to go is to his ex-wife's house. He still has feelings for her. He wants her to help him. And then Charles Grodin, like I said, is going to be the soon-to-be attorney general. And, the comedy ensues as far as him trying to keep, Goldie Hawn trying to keep Chevy Chase hidden away from her husband.
Oh, shit.
You all right?
I'm fine.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm fine.
I'm sorry. Come on, I'll move over.
Wait a minute. Let me think for a minute.
Think about what?
About what to do.
What to do? There's nothing to do. I'll do it all.
So that's got a lot of memorable comedy moments in it. Another movie, and number 3 of my favorite movies of his, is a movie you may not have heard of either. It's called Heart and Souls from 1993. The main actor in that is Robert Downey Jr., and it's about where he ends up having to help 4 ghosts, I think, with their last dying wish or something about, helping them with something that they wanted to do before they passed away. And if he helps them do that, then they can, pass through to the pearly gates. Well, Charles Grodin was one of the 4 ghosts.
He's not that happy to see us.
So I remember seeing that movie, mainly, like I said, for Robert Downey Jr. when he was younger. But I think Charles Grodin was pretty memorable, was one of the ghosts. Now the last 2 were two of the most popular movies, and I was torn between the 2. But when I started thinking about it, one he's just got a minor role in, but it's pretty memorable. But the other one, I went back and watched it after I remembered this yesterday, and it is one of my favorite movies, I have to admit, and I think there's no way that this wouldn't be number 1. But number 2 is King Kong from 1976. I mentioned that. I recently got the Shout Factory Blu-ray, which has got the regular version and the extended TV cut, and he plays basically the quote-unquote villain in that, where he is the one going out for the oil company looking for oil on that island, ends up finding Kong, can't find the oil, brings Kong back, and ends up getting crushed. And it was one of the movies when I was younger I used to laugh because I would cheer every time that he got crushed by Kong's foot, because he was such a bad guy in that. Just your typical, a-hole type character. So, the number 1 movie, you're probably going to have guessed it, because it's probably most people's picked. It's the 1988 buddy comedy Midnight Run. And if you have not seen Midnight Run, after watching it again, like I just said, I think I might have to do a review of that eventually on the channel. It is one of the best buddy, I almost said buddy cop. It's not, one of them's a cop, where Robert De Niro is a cop who ends up going after and I think he was an accountant that ended up extorting money or hiding money away that belonged to the mob. And he was basically like, this is bad money, so who cares, I'm going to take it. And so he hid it away, and then they put him in, they were going to arrest him, and then I think he was going to go into witness protection, and he ended up having to, he jumped bail and got away and was going to take the money that he stole and run off. And so Robert De Niro goes after him as a bounty hunter to find him. And basically Robert De Niro is a hard-edged cop, won't bend by the book. And Charles Grodin, basically the whole movie, tries to convince him to let him go, because he's like, well, I really wasn't a bad guy. I stole from the bad guys myself, and I was just trying to do the right thing. That money was going to be used for bad. That movie is so funny, and it's got such memorable moments in it.
Get over. Okay, these things go down. All right. These things go down. They go. It's too big. It's too big. It can't go.
That that's got to be one of my favorite movies, but not just of Charles Grodin, but just of all time. But that has to be my #1 favorite movie of his. So I don't want to ramble on too much. As you can see, he's got a wide range of movies. He was famous mostly to me in the 80s and 90s. I know he had a talk show later after that. I know Chevy Chase said that they were in the interview that I read that he was saddened by it because it hadn't been that long ago that the two of them reconnected at a party, and that he basically spent the whole night with him because he was just, still stayed such good friends with him after doing seems like old times. But he hasn't been in a lot of movies lately, but he will be missed. And I think you would do yourself a disservice if you didn't go back and try to catch at least one of the movies that I mentioned on this list. So I'm going to go ahead and end it there, and I really appreciate your support you guys have been giving me. So do all the normal YouTube stuff, like, subscribe, may leave any comments. What's your favorite Charles Grodin movie? Did I skip one that you like? Do you like the 5 on my list? And then hit the notification bell. You'll be the first to know when I post new videos. So I really appreciate the support, like I said. And let's end this with a moment of silence for Charles Grodin. You guys be safe out there.
See you in the next life. See you in the next life.